Welcome, everyone. Welcome to GLR Week 2023. My name is Sierra Sanchez, and I am excited to be the webinar producer for our session today. Before we get started, I want to encourage all of you to connect and engage with us on social media. On Twitter, follow us at Reading by Third. On LinkedIn, subscribe to us at Campaign for GLR. And on Facebook, follow us at Campaign for GLR. Please be sure to use the hashtags GLRweek and hashtag bright spots silver linings to share any thoughts you may have. The session will begin shortly and will be recorded. Okay, welcome again, everyone. Like I said, my name is Sierra Sanchez, the webinar producer for today's session. Before we get started, I would just like to share some housekeeping tips. First, we'd love for you to introduce yourself, so please use the chat box at the bottom of the screen to share your name, city or state, and your organization. Be sure when responding to select both panelists and attendees so that we all know who is here. The webinar is being recorded and live streamed on Facebook. A link to the recording, as well as any resources, slides, and panelist bios will be sent in a follow-up email to all who registered for the session. Again, we encourage you to follow the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn using the hashtags GLRweek and bright spots silver linings. And finally, we'll be posting a brief on-screen evaluation during closing and highly encourage you to respond. Again, I'd like to welcome you to GLR Week 2023 with the theme of bright spots and silver linings. We'll be having events all week long in the 12:30 sessions like this one, as well as the 3 o'clock session. Later this afternoon, we'll have a conversation on building on common ground, a governor's conversation. And on Tuesday, we'll have an exciting back-to-back with what happens or doesn't happen in one generation affects the next, 2-generation strategies for relieving poverty, and a session on being locked out of literacy. Later in the week, we'll have sessions that will definitely engage many people, starting with a conversation on the Institute of Education Sciences and followed by a conversation on AI-enhanced efficacy. And on Thursday, we'll invite you to wrap up the week with a session on bright spots and groundwork, what's working in communities, and global perspectives on post-pandemic academic recovery. More information and registration for all of these exciting sessions will be posted in the chat box, and we hope you can join many of them. And additionally, we are highlighting some state events that are being held throughout GLR Week. There is a map to learn more and a website where you can engage with different opportunities that are being held. That will also be posted in the chat box now. Feel free to explore the website and join many state events. And joining you now is Becky Miles-Polka, Senior Consultant with the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Thank you and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you so much, Sierra, and hello to everyone. We're so excited that you're here with us today, and we are especially excited to kick off GLR Week with this gratitude and appreciation session. Public television has played an important part of generations of children and their families, contributing educational, engaging, and playful content. We could think of no better partner to honor this year than public television. We know you have stories to share, and we want today's session to be interactive. So to that end, we have set up a Padlet to capture your experiences, your memories, and your thoughts about public television and public media. The link is being pasted into the bio, and Sierra's going to pull it up here for us for just a moment so you can see, and we have some thoughts already in here. So it's very easy to use. You see that if you're not familiar with Padlet, there is a plus sign down at the bottom of the right-hand corner. Click on that. It'll open up the option for you to type in a note. There we go. You can see that. And then you can select a color for your note if you want to down at the bottom. It's standard white, but you can pick any color. And then hit publish. And So please, please, please share your thoughts. We want to capture these, and we'll open it up at the end to see what we've heard from everyone. Moving on, we are going to have a terrific conversation today with an absolutely stellar panel. And our panel represents national leaders in public television and media, state and local public television stations, the U.S. Department of Education, and the important research that has demonstrated the impact of Ready to Learn and other public children's programming. We have a terrific surprise for you coming up, and then we're going to hear from our managing director, Ralph Smith. Following Ralph's remarks, we will hear from some key partners, leaders, including Pamela Johnson, Executive Director of Ready to Learn at the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and David Lowenstein, the Senior Director of Ready to Learn for PBS Kids, and Patrick Butler, the President and CEO of America's Public Television Stations. But before we get to that, joining us now is Sarah Torian, our Chief Learning Officer for the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks so much, Becky, and welcome everyone. As a lifelong fan of public television who owes a fair amount of my early literacy and numeracy skills to the shows that I watched on public TV back in the 1970s, it's an incredible honor to get to introduce our gratitude video celebrating public TV today. But before I do so, I just wanted to share some quick highlights from our partnership with public TV over the past 3 years as we work to lift up the great work that public television stations were doing in response to the pandemic through our GLR Learning Tuesdays webinars. Highlighting how public TV pivoted immediately in early 2020. We hosted a session in June of that year showing how PBS Kids and PBS Kids Digital took immediate steps to deliver quality programming to support the continuity of learning at home, where families, even those who lack access to digital devices and connectivity, could access educational content through their televisions. That session featured great work being done by public television stations in upstate New York, Texas, and Southern California. And then in the fall of 2021, as many children continued to experience intermittent disruptions in schooling due to illness or quarantine after exposure to illness, we hosted another session exploring how PBS member stations had been working in close partnership with their state and local education partners to develop and deliver curated content linked to education standards, including analog learning supports for students with low and no connectivity in their homes. That session featured examples from Arkansas, Michigan, and New York City with some really engaging video snippets that they created and delivered through their stations. So I'd encourage you to check those out. We also featured some powerful new content as a part of the Ready to Learn partnership between PBS, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and the U.S. Department of Education as they launched Eleanor Wonders Why, the animated series and related content to ignite children's early science and literacy learning in the fall of 2020. A theme from all three of these sessions, as reflected in this quote from Sanji Kumparas, was the willingness of public television stations to be flexible and innovative, to meet families where they were, to provide the kinds of supports that kids needed to help them stay on track, whether that was virtual field trips to the zoo, power packets with printed content that schools could deliver to children's homes, or innovative digital apps. Public television and public media were an active, engaged, and innovative partner in our collective effort to slow, stop, and reverse learning loss during the pandemic, as they have been an active, engaged, and innovative partner in the years preceding the pandemic, as you'll see in this gratitude video that we'll show right now. Thank you so much.
Campaign for grade level reading.
The camping, what? The camp, what?
The Campaign for Grade Level Reading.
Yeah, that.
I think the partnership with PBS and PBS Kids has really helped the Suncoast campaign for grade level reading in our messaging. We recently held our second Suncoast Remake Learning Days Festival and really used PBS and PBS Kids to get the message across in our community. And we were thrilled that we had over 25,000 individuals attend the festival, in no small part to that partnership. We are trying to build a movement, getting cross-sector involvement in the campaign for grade level reading. We know that the success of our children rests on all of our shoulders, and getting the message out to people is really important. And PBS and PBS Kids have been an effective way of us sharing the message. One of our partner organizations, SOAR and 4 in Manatee County, has a partnership with PBS Kids where PBS Kids sends characters to different events that they have. They've done some wonderful learning experiences for families and have provided resources for educators and parents to further the learning.
Arkansas is lucky to have one statewide public television network. We had 5 GLR communities. We organized these huge kickoff events in each of our communities where we had PBS characters, all kinds of activities. And so that just gave some real credibility to us as we launched our campaigns in each of these communities, that it was this hand-in-glove partnership with Arkansas PBS and the Arkansas Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Also, to reach an even broader statewide audience, we developed some public service announcements with Arkansas PBS as well that drove through some of the key messages of grade level readings. So I think, the biggest piece of it was being able to have a reach that we could not have had on our own just with grant funding dollars. And so I think that's one piece of it. And the other was credibility, and really helped to beat the drumbeat that over time, there were all kinds of people around the state of Arkansas who understood the 3rd grade reading message.
What color is he?
Blue.
Very good.
First of all, thank you for honoring public television in this way. This is a great honor for us to have affirmation from a group like yours for the work that we do.
La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Yum yum yum, dum dee dee dum. How many cookies are there today? If you love counting and you know it, clap one time. 1.
Well, this has been the real secret to our success through the partnerships of all of our stations around the country with PBS and with organizations like yours, as well as Head Start programs, Boys and Girls Clubs, schools, home schools, all kinds of community partners. We've been able to reinforce the educational value of these programs that we produce. Everybody is reinforcing the notion that learning is a fun thing to do. It's exciting, that when you can learn to read, it unlocks all kinds of doors for you, both in education and in all phases of life. But one of our proudest achievements is that the studies have shown that people the kids who watch our programming will have overachieved their peers by about 10%, according to these national educational assessment programs. And that's a tremendous achievement for us and for the kids and for our various partners, including yours. And so we hope to expand this work over the course of the next several years. You know, we've gone well beyond television to video games, to interactive learning objects, and we're on every digital platform you can imagine now. We want to be where the kids are, and all of that is working well. And we have 100,000 digital learning objects on PBS Learning Media now to help kids in the K through 12 grades to enhance their education. And it just goes on, and we're very excited about this work and proud of what we've done and excited about what we're about to do. So thank you again for this wonderful recognition, which we deeply treasure. Thank you.
Public television already offers so much to families. If they're in a small rural community in Arkansas, they can still access PBS. If they're in a community, even in a larger city, and they don't have access to transportation, they can still get access to quality activities through PBS. And that's just an invaluable resource to our state, but you can always count on PBS to have quality educational programming that's still fun, that kids want to watch.
Thank you for this avenue where we can reach parents and families and educators and share the importance of learning in our community.
Bye, everybody. It was nice to see you. Thanks immensely.
Good afternoon. I'm Ralph Smith, Managing Director of the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. The two stories captured in that video represent just two of the literally hundreds of similar stories that the Road Warriors on the Campaign for Grade Level Reading's senior team have heard as we visited well over 100 grade level reading communities over the past decade. Whether small towns or large cities, whether rural, urban, or suburban, the Grade Level Reading Coalitions speak warmly of the many ways public television stations across the nation have embraced them and contributed to their and our progress and success by amplifying our messages, extending our reach, and providing concrete support to the work on the ground. This is not at all surprising. The relationship with public television is part of the Campaign for Grade Level Reading's DNA and an important chapter of the CGLR Genesis story. A story that my colleague Joy Thomas Moore, philanthropist David Haas, friend and mentor Leslie Rottenberg know well. During the earliest days, Dr. Ron Thorpe, then Vice President for Education at WNET in New York, reached out to include our still fledgling organization in WNET's annual celebration of teaching and learning. He afforded me the opportunity to participate and to present during the conference. And more importantly, he arranged for our team to meet with, listen to, and learn from some of the nation's most highly regarded teachers. And we credit those interactions with our resolute determination to support the success of children by focusing on finding solutions to the challenges outside the school door that make it difficult and sometimes impossible for even great teachers to succeed. Ron Thorpe's vision, caring, and commitment live on in the stories testifying to cooperation, collaboration, and partnership. As the campaign for grade level reading recommits to equipping adults in the homes and schools and communities, equipping the adults so that they can succeed in assuring equitable academic recovery, early school success, and through that, more hopeful futures for the children of economically challenged, fragile, and marginalized families. It is fitting that we acknowledge the indispensable role of public television. And that's why I am so pleased and honored to join with Becky and Sarah and the state and local coalitions in conveying our deep gratitude and sincere appreciation to public television stations, to PBS, and to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Our deep gratitude and sincere appreciation. And let me ask Pam Johnson and David Lowenstein and Patrick Butler to say a few words on behalf of this great collection and this great industry. Pam?
Ralph, I'm almost speechless here. Very profound. Thank you. To see all our friends, talking about the work of public media is just so moving and so special. And your calling out Ron Thorpe is especially poignant as well. He was a good friend to so many of us in public media, and here in New York State, we worked very closely together. He was an amazing person. So I'm sort of speechless with that reference as well. So thank you, Ralph. Today is really extraordinary. I am going to share, just on behalf of all of us at the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, all my colleagues who work there, just how honored we are for this recognition. It's really lucky that David and Pat Butler and I are here together to accept this honor today. So it's joyful, very joyful for us, and very profound, Ralph, too. We sincerely thank the Campaign for Grade Level Reading and you, our dear friend and visionary leader, for your ongoing commitment to the growth and development of children, especially those from economically challenged families and communities. We really appreciate your affirmation of our mission, and we are about providing universal access to high quality educational content, and we are all about preparing young children to do well in life and become informed and active citizens. In terms of our friendship and long history with the Campaign for Grade Level Reading, it's so clear. We share such similar missions, and we're so focused on the growth and development of young children. And we're also so focused on elevating the role of community and how it can support adults in the lives of children. And it's really one of the reasons we get along so well, and that we're such great partners. We're so natural at working together. We just all think in the context of community and what can be done there and what needs to be done there and how we can work together. We're really good. And I think the video helped to highlight this. We are exceptional at working together in taking that beautiful national content, all the shows we know and love and that got mentioned earlier, all of the media. We're very good at bringing it and connecting it to kids and parents and caregivers and teachers on the ground. And we do that with a real respect and care for the needs of the community. I mean, when you talked about Ron Thorpe inviting you in so that you can meet with and talk to the teachers, that is indeed what we do on the ground too. We really listen well So it's just, this is a great honor. And Ralph, it wouldn't be appropriate thank you without, putting my official Ready to Learn hat on too. Not only my CPB hat, but the Ready to Learn hat. I just want to thank you for being such a trusted and longtime national advisor to Ready to Learn. You are an incredible champion for children. You are a wonderful leader who you knit people together. And as I think back on these last 3 years, the most, challenging time in the history of life and the history of education, you advanced this movement to bring compelling solutions to all of us rather quickly, to our children and to all of us. And when David and I think about you and talk about you, we say you stand in your own light. You really do. And we sincerely thank you, all of us in public media, for what you do, for what grade level reading does, and for honoring us today. Thank you, Ralph. And I'm going to turn things over to my good friend, David at PBS Kids.
Well, thank you, Pam, for your remarks and your leadership. And I too am so pleased that we can accept this wonderful honor today. As Pat said in his video, it is incredibly affirming when public media is recognized for the content and engagement experiences that we deliver to advance children's learning and support the well-being of kids and families, particularly, as Pam said, during these very difficult times that we're living in. In many respects, it is midnight in our world today, and the media landscape is cluttered with divisive, uninspiring content, much the same as it was more than 60 years ago when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. first gave his knock at midnight sermon, and the late, great Newton Minow gave his vast wasteland speech. So it is especially gratifying when public media is recognized for the light that we provide by the people we admire, by the organizations that answer the figurative knock at midnight and consistently keep fresh the bread of love, faith, and hope. Ralph and the Campaign for Grade Level Reading fit that description to a T. Ralph, you are a moral compass for our nation, as well as being a longtime public media champion and advisor. And we deeply admire you and the grade level reading communities across the country that are combating illiteracy, closing the achievement gap, and accelerating academic recovery from pandemic-related learning loss. At PBS Kids, our mission is to reach and prepare all of America's youngest children to be successful in school and in life through content that is safe, age-appropriate, educational, accessible, and entertaining. This mission and the diverse, talented community of PBS Kids producers who advance it through the smart, funny, and heartfelt content that they create differentiates us from any other media organization. Our commitment to reach kids and their caregivers with the free content that they want on the devices and platforms that they're using in and out of the classroom is also quite unique. But the other aspect that sets PBS Kids apart is the power of local stations and the organizations that they collaborate with, including many grade level reading partners. No other media brand has local touch points in every community, bringing content to users in authentic and relevant ways. Stations and their partners make all this possible, bringing PBS Kids to life on the ground and using our media as a springboard for meaningful and joyful interactions between kids and their caregivers. Harnessing the power and potential of media to educate, inform, and inspire is what drives all of us within the public television system. Being recognized for our efforts by the Campaign for Grade Level Reading is exceedingly encouraging. So once again, thank you so much for bestowing this honor on us today. And I'll pass it back to our good friend, Pat Butler.
All right, thank you, David, and thank you, Pam, and Ralph, especially thank you and your colleagues at the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. My colleagues in public television have expressed our gratitude in far more eloquent terms than I can do, but let me just add one note of caution here. So much of what we're talking about today and celebrating is at risk today with the Congress of the United States which doesn't seem to understand or fully appreciate all of the good work that we're doing with their help and have been doing with their help for more than 50 years now. It's very important that we and you and all of our partners across the country convey to Congress just how important this federal investment in this work that we're talking about is, so that we can continue it, so we can expand it, and so that we can continue to teach generations of America's kids and get them ready to learn in school, ready to succeed in life. This is potentially an existential threat that we are facing today. And all of us together who are doing this good work and have been doing it and intend to do it going forward need to engage with our members of the House and the Senate to let them know just how important this work is, how important the federal investment is in this work, and how crucial it is that our children get this leg up, this head start in life that we've been providing for so many years and intend to continue. So it's very timely for us to be honored and recognized in this way. Thank you, Ralph, and thank you to all of your colleagues for this wonderful recognition, which we deeply treasure. And we look forward to working with all of you going forward to continue this work and to help America's kids help America. So I'll stop now and thank you very much, Ralph, for this wonderful honor.
Patrick, David, Pam, on behalf of the campaign and all my colleagues, I will say that we acknowledge that we stand on the shoulders who have gone before those who have gone before us. And this is our turn and our time. And together we can do something quite special. Very much appreciated. Becky, we're back.
I am back. Well, I have my tissues at hand and a lump in my throat and lots of goosebumps during these presentations. So and the video. So what a wonderful way to start off our conversation. It's my pleasure now to turn to our panel and introduce our amazing and extraordinary panelists. So if we could pull up that slide, Sierra, wonderful. And everyone's full bios will be posted in chat in just a moment. So we'll start with Muna Algahi, is an early learning engagement specialist with PBS Wisconsin, where she manages the Ready to Learn project, which aims to cultivate a love of learning and supports critical school readiness skills for marginalized children and their families. Kathy Cook is the Director of Education at WQED Multimedia in Pittsburgh, where she has made significant contributions to early childhood education and professional development. She drives educational initiatives and brings positive change. Early in her career, she worked with Head Start, where she had the opportunity to impact children, their families, and childcare providers. Her partner today is Gina Macciola, who is the Managing Director of Education at WQED. And Gina has managed and created several projects for children, including the WQED Writers Contest, Inquire Within, IQ Smart Parent, WQED Smart Schools, IQ Kids Radio, and Musical Kids. I just want to go in and learn about all of those programs, Gina. They sound so exciting. Miriam Mendoza is the program director for Ready to Learn at Austin PBS. And she works with Ready to Learn, which brings this new research-based PBS multi-platform content, including television programs, video, interactive games, mobile apps, and hands-on activities to engage children, families, and educators in learning experiences at home, in preschool, and in out-of-school settings. Her partner, Kirsten Schwab, is with Texas PBS, and she has served as the executive director there since 2008. And during her tenure, the 10 Texas PBS stations have worked together to build education programs across the state. Kirsten is also the co-state lead for the Campaign for Grade Level Reading Initiative in Texas, which is Start Smart Texas. And Finally, Shelley Pasnick is the Senior Vice President for External Affairs at Education Development Center, where she is an internationally recognized expert in the thoughtful integration of digital media, and she has guided the development of children's educational services for the organization. And now it's my pleasure to turn the conversation over to our moderator, Jamila Smith, who serves as the Director of the Office of Innovation and Early Learning Programs at the U.S. Department of Education. She oversees several initiatives that provides financial and technical support to improve the educational achievement of students, particularly high-need students and our youngest learners. Jamila, welcome.
Thank you so much, Becky, for that warm welcome. And thank you to the Campaign for Grade Level Reading for this week of recognition and appreciation. I am so delighted to be a part of today's convening and pleased that you all can join us. Over the last year, the U.S. Department of Education has developed a kindergarten-centered preschool through third grade reading agenda that helps to accelerate learning and comprehensive learning and well-rounded education as part of the department's Raise the Bar initiative that was launched this past January. Raise the Bar, Lead the World is the U.S. Department of Education's call to action to transform preschool through 12th grade education and unite around what truly works based on decades of evidence and research to advance educational equity and excellence. Here at the department, we are committed to raising the bar, and that starts with our youngest learners. So I'm truly excited for this wonderful panel from across the country of folks who are partnering with the department through the Ready to Learn program and grant that are innovating within the early learning space, from public media to apps and games, to school and community engagement, to research. Our Ready to Learn partners are innovating on a variety of fronts. Some of our panelists here will talk about building these foundational learning experiences through using educational media to support early and intergenerational learning, family and community engagement, partnerships, and other topics that are critical to supporting early learners. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our panel discussion. David, the first question is for you. Could you share with us the learning goals for your current CPB PBS Ready to Learn initiative and any new content that you all are developing?
Happy to, and thank you so much, Jamila. The content coming out of the current CPB PBS Kids Ready to Learn initiative advances the learning goals that the U.S. Department of Education established for this round of Ready to Learn, increasing young children's functional literacy and career readiness skills. The content also advances the priorities that the U.S. Department of Education established for this round of Ready to Learn related to intergenerational learning, bridging digital and real-world play, and using data analytics to enhance learning and engagement. There are a total of 9 PBS Kids series that are being funded by this current round of Ready to Learn, ranging from broadcast series to game experiences, streaming short-form videos to podcast series. 3 of the Ready to Learn funded series recently premiered, including Work It Out Wombats, which consists of 40 animated half-hour episodes and 4 digital interactive learning games produced by GBH in Boston. Work It Out Wombats builds preschoolers' critical and computational thinking, task persistence, flexible thinking, and collaboration skills, and exposes young children to careers. The Big Gathering was also produced by GBH and recently premiered. It consists of 20 animated functional literacy themed video shorts and a digital game, all that extend the reach and impact of the award-winning Molly of Denali series for kids ages 4 to 8. Additionally, What Can You Become recently premiered, and these short live action videos expose kids and families to a variety of careers and builds world of work knowledge and skills. The 6 Ready to Learn funded series that will premiere in the coming months includes an animated computational thinking theme series called Lila in the Loop, as well as 2 new animated literacy series, 2 podcast series focused on the world of work and computational thinking, and a digital learning game experience focused on creative problem solving, critical thinking, and collaboration. And all of this content is available anytime, anywhere, on all of the devices and platforms that kids are migrating to.
Thank you, David. Thank you. And we know that with all of the wonderful work that you're engaged in, that there's definitely a community approach that's needed to actually get the resources and materials into the hands of students in the community. So Pam, I'm curious if you can share with us the work that you're doing in communities by establishing networks of learning neighborhoods and state project stations, and a bit about what's important about that approach.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, David's done an excellent job of highlighting the content that's being built, this best in class content. And it's the foundation, it's the core of Ready to Learn. And then from there, CPB and PBS work with hundreds of public media stations to determine how best to take this to communities and how best to work with partners in communities with this resource. And I would say a couple of key themes for us, right? Content and community, they must be interdependent. We can have greatest effect, greatest impact when we integrate those two ideas together. And of course, our stations and grade level reading and the department are very, very excellent and skilled at collaboration. But the thing for us is collaboration through, the opportunity and the affordances of media. And through this round of Ready to Learn, we've been able to establish a network of 22 learning neighborhoods. And that network is going to grow to about 41 neighborhoods or communities across the United States this fall. And the idea behind a learning neighborhood, and all the colleagues gathered to here today are again making this work happen and doing it so brilliantly with partners. But the main idea behind a learning neighborhood is that it's a group of partners working very intently to address early learning needs and to really think hard about how best to extend the use and to target the use of this content to different members of the community, including children and families and caregivers and teachers and other educators. And so, and it's really like creating a set of touch points in a community or in a neighborhood. So there might be a family night at a school, there could be an after school program at a library, there could be something special going on at the Children's Museum. The idea is that different players in a community kind of unite and advance this notion of learning together, kind of creating a culture of families learning together, which again is another big priority for the department in Ready to Learn, the notion of intergenerational learning. And then, thanks to, again, the department's vision and thinking, supplemental funds are allowing us to dip our toe into the idea of what does it mean to extend the resources of Ready to Learn at a state level. So what does it mean to be working with state early childhood systems or other state organizations, that kind of thing. And, again, very, very tuned to the needs of the state, the pressing opportunities to serve and what's most needed. And our partners are thinking really hard about what that means in a state. So it could be a state education department, the preschool development grant program, public libraries in the state, and so forth. So huge opportunity. And the big idea is, very, very intentional, very welcoming, very much tuned to the needs of a place, whether that's a local community or a state enterprise or set of systems. And what can we do to be supportive?
Certainly. I think one of the things I love about Ready to Learn, and I think Patrick said it best, is that we're bringing the learning to the children, wherever they may be. Loved in the video, the person who was working with the students in the laundromat, recognizing that learning takes place anywhere, in the grocery store, the laundromat, the bus station, the libraries, after school programs, Head Start programs. So love the community approach that Ready to Learn has and the intentional focus on meeting the children sort of where they are. I would love to pivot to talk to some of our local station partners. So I'm just going to sort of toss a question out and let's see who'd love to take it first. I know we have Gina, Kathy, Muna, Miriam, as well as Kirsten, and Shelley, I believe you as well. So could you, either of you, just sort of paint us a brief, big picture view of your work in the community or state using PBS Kids Ready to Learn funded content as a catalyst for early learning?
I can take that question. I'm Kathy Cook. I'm with WQED in Pittsburgh. And we've been able to take the Ready to Learn content to our partners and communities, first by bringing partners together and finding out, really taking a moment to hear what are the strengths of the communities, how can we best support what's already happening there. And then everybody's been talking about this fabulous trusted content that we have coming out of Ready to Learn. We take that trusted content and pair it with the trusted partners in the community. And that's really where the magic happens. So we like to create programs with our community, not just for our community. So we meet with them, we find out really what's going on, and then we work together to come up with a plan. So in our learning neighborhood, we are trying to find ways that we can engage with kids and families throughout the whole community. So Jamila, you mentioned that there's in the laundromat and there's all these different touch points that happen. And when we have these multiple touch points, we know that we're really doing our best to support children and families in any space that we can be in. And so our learning neighborhood, we've been able to work with schools, libraries, community service organizations in non-traditional spaces like parks, the Department of Parks, and community service organizations, businesses, both nonprofit and for-profit. It's been our experience that we found that communities really want to do what's best for children and families. And when we're all working together on a goal to support those children and families, that really amazing things can happen. And we're so fortunate to have the content, the trusted content and the brand and the national support, and then be able to drill that down into communities at a really small micro level, at a deep dive, and build those relationships.
Absolutely. Love the deep dive.
Sorry, I'm going to piggyback onto what Kathy said for 1 minute about our work in Pittsburgh. I think one of the really important things that we're doing as we build this learning neighborhood is, like Kathy mentioned, finding those businesses that support that community locally, so that the programming that we are creating together within that community is sustainable at some level, so that we aren't coming in to just do the work and make decisions and, you know, kind of say, this is what we heard you need, but really, like Kathy said, building together and then finding those supporters and stakeholders within the community that are willing to make those investments, so that that work continues long after the station needs to move on to create another learning neighborhood, and so that we're able to actually scale the work.
I love that. Love that. Love the idea of using community as a way to sustain. Love the idea of hearing from the community and building it with them, not for them, but sort of alongside them. I think that's definitely key.
I can go next. Hi, my name is Mona.
Hi, Mona.
Hi, I'm an early learning engagement specialist on the PBS Wisconsin team. The big picture view of our work is that we really just seek to empower early childhood professionals by developing offerings that really uniquely position them to share ready to learn educational resources within their communities. And so I completely agree with Kathy and Gina in that we take an active listening approach. We really want to work with them and not just, come up with really good ideas and hand them out. And so we do that in a variety of ways. We have self-paced engagement efforts, hybrid synchronous offerings. And so we have both a targeted approach and a statewide approach. Pam mentioned that they are dipping their toes in the water of what it looks like to expand Ready to Learn around their state. And PBS Wisconsin is one of the very lucky recipients and co-partners in thinking about what that might look like. And so our targeted work is with the learning neighborhood. And so that looks like very deep, sustained community engagement over the course of several years in one community. And we activate Ready to Learn content in our focal community through family workshops, teacher professional development, community events, and parenting groups, all in conjunction with our phenomenal partners in that targeted community. And then our statewide work is essentially our team offering timely, relevant professional development through webinars. But another unique thing that we do is we have a few different cohort-based professional development communities that we manage. One focuses on media literacy, and the other is towards library professionals. And we've been doing that every year for the past several years. And we've had tremendous success with that. And our library cohort model actually uses the Ready to Learn created professional development curriculum called Educator and Community Learning as the foundation. And so PBS Wisconsin really relies on the high quality Ready to Learn content through almost all of our early childhood engagement efforts.
No, that's wonderful.
And I'll go next. So I'm Miriam Mendoza with Austin PBS here in Austin, Texas. And we work primarily with out-of-school time providers and community organizations such as Boys and Girls Clubs of the Austin area and Andy Roddick Foundation, Book Spring, and Friends of the Children. And our partners recruit families. We leverage the trust they have with their constituents, and they provide a familiar space for us to co-facilitate family engagement workshops. And I've also had the opportunity to provide professional development opportunities for out-of-school time providers, focusing on supporting emergent bilingual students or family engagement in out-of-school time programs, or even an orientation to PBS Learning Media, which is our digital archive of PBS resources for educators. We have also received the opportunity to go statewide, but because Texas is a very large state, we have decided to focus on 3 communities. First of all, our partner at the state level is the Texas Workforce Commission, which is the leading agency for the Texas Preschool Development Grant. And we are integrating Ready to Learn resources into their expansive network. And we are focusing on 3 communities, as I said: Austin, Corpus Christi, and Midland, Odessa. And we chose them because they had PDG funded early childhood learning coalitions. They had a PBS station that was not already Ready to Learn funded, and they have a local workforce board that is ready for this type of engagement. Our ultimate goal is school readiness, improving school readiness outcomes in children. And we are starting this work and we're very excited about it.
I can tag on to Miriam.
Yes, please jump in.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Kirsten Schwab with Texas PBS. I kind of wear 2 hats with this. So I am a member of the Campaign for Grade Level Reading and serve with my partners from the United Ways of Texas as part of the campaign. We are the co-state leads, and we lead a mighty group of about 20 communities that are focused on this work in Texas. And also I wear my Texas PBS hat with pride. I'm overjoyed and wanted to quickly say thank you to Ralph, to Becky, and to all at the Campaign for Grade Level Reading for this incredible honor to recognize the great work of Ready to Learn. In addition, I just wanted to, Miriam is really the star here. She does such incredible work at Austin PBS and has really taken on the role as a leader in Texas to help us bring this work to more communities. But I would be remiss without also saying that we do work as part of the Ready to Learn grant in Dallas. And in that work, we are also focused on similar engagement with community partners as well. And then our friends in San Antonio do quite a bit of work in this regard as well. So just really quickly, I wanted to address the statewide, and we are a big state, but we hope that we will have this, through this opportunity, we will be able to bring in our community partners on a state level with our state agency partners. Miriam mentioned the Texas Workforce Commission, but we're also working with the Texas Education Agency and the Texas Department of Family Protective Services. And we hope to bring all those partners on the state level to support the work in communities so that we can all learn from each other.
Kirsten, love that point. I think this is something that connects back to what Pam mentioned in terms of working with the preschool development grant and beginning to look more at the state level series of resources. So really appreciate you and Miriam's comments around how that looks in Texas and some of the work that you all are doing, kind of looking across grants from Ready to Learn to the preschool development grant, all in service of children. Thank you all for your comments. I have another question I'd love to pose to you all. That focuses on family and community engagement. So specifically, could you share some examples of how children and families are engaged with PBS Kids Ready to Learn media and resources? Mainly, what's going on and what's the big idea there?
Answer that one really quickly first, and then toss it out to my colleagues and what's happening in their areas, or if Kathy has anything to add into Pittsburgh. But specifically for this round of Ready to Learn in the learning neighborhood and community that we're focused in, we are doing lots of family and community engagement workshops. So bringing those families together. I know that family and community learning workshops have been mentioned a couple of times. So most stations are really leveraging that model because it is so effective in bringing families together, creating those relationships for parents to support each other and not just depend on the educator or the facilitator, but really making sure that families are connecting, which is so important for the success as they move through the educational process, to have those supports from their peers. So that's one way. And then I know that lots of stations are doing really amazing work, that really focuses in on some of those strengths and needs that we talked about. So in the community that we're working in, we had a really strong community focused response around local businesses. And so one of the things that we did to help support that career readiness and workforce development goals was to create what we called the World of Work Marketplace. And so we held that in conjunction with our named community partners for the Ready to Learn work, and then included reaching out to a lot of those stakeholders or those people that will call upon to help sustain that work once our 5-year cycle of the grant has come to a close. So that's just building on those relationships, I think, is really important. And then one of the other things we did was to start to create a podcast that is really focused in on a couple of different segments. So one of the ones we're creating is more of a narrative that's for children and families to listen to. One of the things that we heard during the strengths and needs assessments that we did was that one of the pockets of time that families have when they're together is this time in the car. And so creating resources and media that they can leverage in those time spaces, again, meeting them where they're at. So we've got this one that's a narrative that's really focused on kids and families and tools that you might use in different career pathways. And then another one that's focused more on parents and educators and interviewing folks from the community that can help explain and expand understandings of career pathways for parents. So those are just a few of the kind of things that are happening in Pittsburgh. I'm sure Kathy might have something to add on to that.
So I was just going to mention something else when Gina talked about businesses wanting to support and help and come together. Something that is coming up right before back to school, they're doing a backpack walk where kids that we're partnered with who are part of our homeless shelter are going to walk from business to business, start with a backpack and fill it with back to school supplies and Ready to Learn resources, almost like a trick or treat with back to school supplies. But it's really so families can get their hands on materials and school supplies to start the year off on the right foot. And the Ready to Learn resources are also included. And by walking around, that really does help the community come together in support of the kids. So we're hoping, we haven't done it yet, but it's coming up in August and we're really excited about it. We're just excited that the businesses really wanted to support this work.
No, I appreciate this common theme of Ready to Learn and early learning is not just for children, it's also for adults, it's also for families, it's also for communities. Love how you all are bringing in families and helping to build their capacity in terms of how they can best support their young learners on this sort of journey that they're beginning with their own educational experience. I'm curious, when you think about intergenerational learning and its importance to children's growth, what are some of the special traits or takeaways you're experiencing on the ground as you do the work?
So I'll take that. For intergenerational learning, I think that unconditional love really sets the stage for optimal learning. So from a child's perspective, you have this loving, caring adult, someone they love, they trust, they look up to, that truly cares about them, that wants the best for them, that makes them feel safe, that's really creating this environment for learning new information and understanding it. And then from an adult's perspective, you're empowering them to be a caregiver, to be their child's first teacher. They know their child best. They know their needs, their limitations, and they can offer that one-on-one tailored support that no one else can. And then the beautiful thing is also that it's two-way learning. Not only are parents teaching their children, but they are learning from their children as well. So that is the power of intergenerational learning and why it's really important and really effective.
I love how you said that, Miriam. And I really think another beautiful thing about intergenerational learning is that it affirms to young children that we love and accept and welcome their definition and their understanding of family too. So not only is it helping build the grown-ups' capacity to engage in learning with the little one in their life, but it's welcoming magical learning experiences with whomever is in a child's system of care, support, and love. And so I really think of it as welcoming and an inclusive approach for diverse family systems. It's letting them know that we're happy they're there. We believe in their ability to be a part of the little one's learning, and that we're there to help make it easier with access to really great high quality resources.
I love that framing in terms of access to two-way resources and really empowering learners. And also just parents as the first educator. Definitely appreciated that framing. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Mona. Moving on to the next question. This is more so about the partnership work that you all spoke about earlier. I'm curious, what do partners value most about this working relationship with the local station?
I can take that. I know in Pittsburgh, our partners, since we do evaluation at a local level with the University of Pittsburgh, we actually survey our partners to find out what they have got from what came out of the partnership. What do they love most? Was it effective for them? Do they see it to be sustainable? Those sorts of things. And overwhelmingly, our partners have said that they are so happy to be part of the cohort, and that the bringing together of people, our role as the community convener was so special to them, because they had not yet worked necessarily with the library or worked with a community service organization. And so by just someone bringing them together on a common goal to support children and families was the catalyst that they needed in order to continue the work in the community.
I'm going to add really quickly onto Kathy's that I think it's the investment that the Department of Ed and Ready to Learn is making in these small, really drilled down neighborhoods attracts other funding. So Kathy and I were able to not just leverage the Ready to Learn money that we had in this particular community, but that also gave us the opportunity to get a Too Small to Fail grant to put messaging in these nonprofit spaces as well. So it's, I think that that's another valuable piece of the puzzle, is that these dollars and this investment not just attract the local stakeholders in money, but then also can attract other larger national or state funding to help support the work.
I think another thing that I find interesting too is that a lot of partners don't necessarily see a clear alignment immediately with a public media station. They don't necessarily understand the role that a lot of PBS stations, especially ready to learn funded stations, have when it comes to deep community engagement. And so a lot of times when I'm doing some initial partner meetings or doing different presentations, there are always a handful of people who are just so shocked that PBS goes beyond public broadcasting, that it's beyond just these incredible shows that they see online. And so when you take that and you form a partnership and you have these out of school time professionals who you're collaborating with to launch a 4-week family series, and they see the impact, they see the reactions that caregivers have, that children have after participating in some of these workshop series, right? Increased confidence and being a part of their children's learning, children being more excited about learning, particularly as it relates to specific ready to learn priorities like everyday literacy or computational thinking, connecting those dots and then being able to understand the way that engaging with a ready to learn station or ready to learn content can lift learning off the screen, can really be a tremendous source of inspiration when it comes to partnering with public media stations too.
And
I agree. Go ahead, Kristen.
Can I bring up another partner that I feel like is really important in this work, and that is Bright by Text. We have a program that many of the stations across the country, and certainly we work on in Texas, and that is to provide child development resources, safety information, all types of resources that parents are looking for, right in a text message right to their phone. And we find that building that bond between parents and community organizations is really helped by having this texting platform and being able to provide that out across the state of Texas.
Thank you, Kirsten. Miriam, were you going to jump in?
I was just going to piggyback off of Muna. I was just going to say that once our partners see the content in action and see the impact, they are able to really experience the high quality content, that it's evidence-based. But not only that it is exciting, that children are actually excited and motivated to learn. And I think that's really powerful. You know, you need to make these experiences joyful so that they can inspire a level of learning.
Absolutely, Miriam. I definitely believe in creating joyful, affirming experiences for children. Loved how we talked about the experiences sort of coming alive. They're coming off the screen. They're sort of embedding into children in their everyday lives, and then helping families to more closely connect with it. We also talked a bit about the evaluation of patterns and looking more closely at the investment. Shelley, would love to bring your expertise and your voice in as one of our partners at EDC and some of the work that you do. My question is, what do we know about the using educational media to support learning? Are there any findings or research that you can share with us?
Absolutely, there are findings because not only does the Department of Education through the Ready to Learn program make an investment in content and in community, but also in knowing. So the group that I'm a part of at the Education Development Center, and we're partnered with SRI, we conduct research to ask questions about the effectiveness. We don't necessarily measure love, but we measure learning. And as we're hearing from these really insightful partners today, the two go hand in hand. And it's important to know, especially in the world that we're living in right now, where there has been the experience of going through the pandemic, when we've got all sorts of complications due to inequity. We want to know, what do families experience when it comes to their engagement with media? You're going to see in the chat lots of references to probably the research, and so I'm not going to go through each individual study, but I know a couple of years ago there was this phrase like, there's an app for that, there's an app for that, and I feel like there's a study for that. You have a question, we've done research on that. So I do encourage you to look at the library research that we've done, but a couple of things that come to mind. And that is, again, because whereas Pam said, we stand in our own light, and the Department of Education allows us to stand in the light of others and to see what really is happening for families as they engage with media. And what we found is that media can make an important difference in the lives of families and in the learning of children, especially young children living in settings where there are not a lot of financial resources, but there are so many other cultural and linguistic strengths that exist in these families. But what's necessary is that families have to find their way to high quality media and the media that's intentionally constructed, so that it prioritizes learning, and it prioritizes the role that parents and other adults and grown-ups can play in children's learning. Much of the conversation today has been about that intergenerational learning, or how important the back and forth that happens between young learners and grown-ups are. In order to make that happen, it's really important to be in the reality of parents and other caregivers, and that is they have limited time, they have limited attention. And so really designing the media, and this is what Ready to Learn programming does so well, really think about how to integrate it into the everyday routines, the chores. We heard an example of the laundromat. That's not by accident. That's very intentional to think about what are the everyday experiences of families and how can the learning be a part of that. The other piece is really to help families or help that grown-up scaffold. What does that mean? So what that means is making connections to the digital or the media experiences to two things. One, to the experiences that kids are having when they're not on the screen or when they're not engaging. And the second is to make connections to knowledge, so that it's not media over here and the rest of life over here, but really to see the two blended. And when that happens, literacy can be supported, computational thinking and problem solving can be supported, mathematical learning, mathematical thinking can be supported, scientific learning can be supported. There's just so much that's possible in these academic ways, and then also with the foundation of the social emotional learning that is so very important to really see the whole child and not just a child as a sum of these discrete academic little learnings, but instead just a much richer experience. But I see that you're already getting links dropped in the chat. I encourage you to look at those many resources, and hopefully you'll find that the research can be helpful for those of you who are writing grants and you need more, you need to point to journal articles and something that's more academic and sophisticated. And then you also may want something that is just an infographic or something that's that is a distillation of the findings. We really, because this is taxpayer dollars, this program, we really try to create findings that are accessible to many different audiences and the uses they have for the research and for that evidence base.
Great. And Shelley, I just wanted to ask one other question of you. This has just been profound, just in terms of scaffolding the learning of adults, talking about the SEL and being able to see the whole child. Definitely look into digging into some of the resources that were captured in the chat. In terms of the research that EDC has just completed on the topic of intergenerational learning and engagement, why does it matter, what we do? Why does it matter what, meaningful intergenerational learning experiences look like? Why does it matter?
Fundamentally because learning is social, right? And so if we're not attending to the needs and the experiences of different generations, we're missing the opportunity. That if we think about learning as a delivery process, right, where you have information and you distribute it, then you really aren't understanding how learning happens. And learning, even from, a small child, that serve and return that is so important and so essential to early learning development, the same continues as children age, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds. They really are living in a family setting. And so really thinking about the experience of the parent. We heard it earlier today, or that, the other grown-up, It might be that we need to build the confidence of an adult to understand, I don't need to have the answer, right? What I need to do is help my child ask questions, and we go together in exploration of finding answers to those questions, to really cultivate curiosity, for example. So building confidence, or it may be, I need to make some behavioral changes, that I as a grown-up, I think it is about finding a finite answer, and instead I need some modeling. And so media can be really helpful at providing examples. So much of what media does is it helps us tell stories. It does so with rich characters, and when those characters are giving us examples of how we can behave, then all of then you're part of a learning system. You're not simply thinking about learning as finite, but learning as a system.
No, I love that. I love that. Learning as social. I think I'm going to change my byline on the bottom of my email to learning as social, and credit you with that tagline. I think that's so powerful, especially as we think about empowering adults to best support their children. I know that we have a variety of adults in our country with a variety of different educational experiences. And as we are trying to better our education system to support all children, recognizing that there are some adults who have had a very different educational experience than what we're trying to give their child. So also building their confidence to best support their child. And I love the idea of parents not necessarily having to have all the answers, but definitely finding ways of supporting their children and being curious and exploring and asking questions and being confident and standing in their own learning. I think that's a very powerful statement, especially as we think about young children and the caregivers that are supporting them. So I know that we are set to also launch a poll. Just want to invite our audience, once the poll is launched, to please respond to the poll. It's very quick, just a few questions. It definitely helps us think through how to better prepare for learning opportunities of this type. And Shelley, I think I can probably squeeze in one more question, but I definitely want to open up to the entire panel, but most certainly to you as well. In terms of adults in children's lives, is there any special magic that you would recommend in terms of how they can play a valuable role in their lives, in their children's learning? I think you've touched upon it kind of throughout your comments, but wanted to ask the question just more in a more targeted fashion in case there was something specific that you wanted to add.
Sure, I can start, but I always learn from my colleagues and communities. I think to remember that parents are already, if grown-ups are already in that role, right? Sometimes I think in the rhetoric, we think that we need to help grown-ups get to that place. And I think grown-ups are already there. It's about activating the strength rather than coming from a place of thinking that the opposite is happening. It's just really common that we slip into that deficit mindset. And that is especially true when equity starts to be a part of the conversation. And we have got to continue to come back to strength. And that's what I love about, the work that everyone here is doing. So I will turn to them to share their insight, because they're knowing it and living it with the dignity in their communities.
I love how you said that, Shelley, and I just agree completely. It's believing and trusting in the caregivers and knowing that they come with their own unique set of skills, and we might have these wonderful ideas that we love, but it's also leaning into what anyone might be able to offer and building together. That's going to always have the most meaning and the most impact, is building together and creating together.
Great, thank you, Shelley and Muna. Pam, I see you get ready to come on. I wanted to give a quick pause in case folks wanted to gather their thoughts and share.
I think too, I just want to, layer on to Shelley and Muna. I was, Muna said earlier and just said it now, this sort of welcoming idea, and that, we're really trying to do this work together. And every of my station colleague noted this too. And in the chat, there was also a reference to the power of co-creating, right? So yeah, we have a national resource that comes to us beautifully built, perfectly designed from PBS Kids and the talented producers. And then there is the contextualizing it for local use and determining how it fits, where it fits, and how could the partners adapt, add their other resources with it. How do we prepare it for wonderful use locally? So it's a big part of the work, very big part of the work. And it's very exciting. And, people are just shoulder to shoulder doing this work together.
Can I tag on to that, Pam? I would say, yeah, and I love what Shelley said. I think that we often think of messages to parents being around read a certain number of books, or in my term, sort of guilting parents into looking at literacy and the need for literacy. But I think as she said, I think parents are there, and what they're looking for is resources on how to do that and models for how to do it. So I think what Ready to Learn does so brilliantly is to bring those resources, whether it's through a community partner or through a state agency, working together to try to normalize what parenting is actually like, and how we can empower parents to be there, to help their kids get ready for school, to enjoy learning together, and to bond as a family.
And I echo that they have the willingness to learn and allow us to model for them, strategies like co-viewing and co-playing, collaborating. But also we give them that opportunity to connect with other parents, because they have a wealth of information that they can support each other. And we provide these opportunities for them to come together and bond and hear from each other.
Wonderful. Before I shift to Pam and David to ask them to share with us some closing remarks, I wanted to share my own gratitude for this panel, my own gratitude for the Campaign for Grade Level Reading for this opportunity, not only as someone who has been a recipient of educational media growing up, but also as a parent and as a professional. My children don't fully understand what it is that I do, but whenever they hear brought to you by the U.S. Department of Education, I'm like, that's me, that's mom. And so they think I work on Sesame Street. So as they've aged, I've continued to keep that going. So I want to say thank you to this panel. Again, thank you to the Campaign for Grade Level Reading for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you for all that you do for children, for our great nation. Pam and David, please share with us some closing thoughts.
Sure. This has just been a thrilling day. My heart is full. And a lot of love and a lot of learning. I'm going to put those two together, Shelley. And heart is full. And I really appreciate Grade Level Reading and Ralph and Jamila. You've done a wonderful job of engaging this group of people and bringing out all their experiences from the ground. So thank you for that. I'm really appreciative of Ralph's approach to this and Becky's approach to this today. Thank you, Becky, for pulling us together and getting us planned. But the focus on adults in the lives of children and how best to connect with them. And what an honor to use Ready to Learn as a platform today. That's a real honor for all of us. And I would say that in this time when we're accelerating learning, which is such an important phrase because it really lays on top of the more troubling phrase of learning loss. But in this time, we have so much to do. And so many of us just need to work in new ways and in different ways and creative ways together and give our families and our children and our teachers as much support and in the ways that they can work best to keep exciting a child about being exposed to some part of the academic world, but in a joyful way, and practice that, whatever that is, literacy, math, communicating and so forth. So we're here to help. You can see we're a roll up your sleeves kind of group. We work with assets first and think hard about that. And we're enmeshed with the fabric of daily life. And we have this little big secret sauce we work with, and it's really special. And I would say, it's here to be mined and creatively combined with so many partners on the ground and nationally too. So it's been an honor. Thank you. I'll now pass to David.
Yep, thank you, Pam. I echo Pam's thanks to Ralph and Becky and the amazing grade level reading community for giving us this honor and this forum. And big thanks also to you, Jamila, for moderating and being so thoughtful in the questions you asked. I've enjoyed looking also at the Padlet to read some of the comments about what public media, public television has meant to so many of all of you who are on this this Zoom meeting today. And it really, when I think about Ready to Learn, Ready to Learn really gives us that opportunity to do for this next generation of kids and families and educators what we as grown-ups so valued and appreciated growing up. And it gives us that opportunity to do it in a very different media landscape than the one that we grew up in. But as different as this landscape is, it is also, as I mentioned in my thank you remarks, it is also, unfortunately, very much the same type of landscape, in that even though we have so many more platforms and different ways of receiving information and media, so often much of it is divisive and uninspiring. And so Ready to Learn gives us that opportunity in 2023 to transform these mediums and these platforms and to create an oasis on whether it's on television, on YouTube, in these different emerging platforms, to create joy, to create safe spaces, pro-social content that really does move the needle. Thank goodness for Shelley Pasnick, one of a national treasure and one of the great children's media and technology researchers of our time, to be able to really independently evaluate the impact and efficacy of the work that we do in children's media. So Ready to Learn just allows us to be innovative and to continue building on this amazing legacy that all of us have benefited from. And so we're so grateful to Ready to Learn for giving us that opportunity through the Department of Ed, through Congress. Thank you, Pat Butler, for trying to save the federal funding, because it truly is such an important aspect of our society and delivers so much value. So thank you all very much.
So it's my turn to come back on and say thank you to all of our presenters, and especially to our moderator, Jamila, for making the time and coming here and providing such terrific moderation of this really extraordinary panel. Those of you who are on today have no idea how many people were on vacation over the last few weeks, but made time coming back from vacation to be part of this conversation. So Miriam, Pam, David, Kathy, Gina, Mona, Kirsten, Shelley, thank you all so much for being part of this conversation today. Special thanks to Sierra Sanchez, who's in the background producing our webinar. It would not happen if we didn't have her extraordinary skill set. There was one final question in chat asking about research metrics. I posted some resources from Shelley, and all of these resources will be coming out to each of you who registered. There's a whole document that has resources from PBS and CPB, and included that it is a link to some research content as well. So those will all come out to you later this week. We deeply appreciate you being here with us to help kick off GLR Week. Please sign up for some of our additional sessions. And Sierra, if you can bring up those sessions. yet today, and we have 2 every day through Thursday. So we hope that you will take the time to register and join us for another conversation throughout the week. We will be using your comments on Padlet to sprinkle our social media throughout the week. So thanks to those of you who put something on the Padlet. You still can, it'll be open throughout the week. So I just want to say my deep gratitude for all the important work from public television, public media, for each of you, for everything that you're doing to keep kids learning. Thank you so very much. Bye, everyone.